My brother sold my dog while I was in the hospital. I sold his car and used the money to buy her back and vanish from his life forever. My name is Emma, and I've spent most of my life being treated like an afterthought in my own family. There are a lot of things I can forgive, stupid mistakes, forgotten birthdays, petty insults. But what I can't forgive is watching someone ruin your peace, then act like they did you a favor. That's my brother in a nutshell. Ever since I was 5, he's made it his mission to remind me I was a mistake. I was the unplanned second kid, the spare part after the shiny firstborn. Daniel got everything first, the biggest room, the better bike, the louder praise. I got what was left, if anything. And it wasn't just the usual sibling rivalry. Daniel didn't tease. He humiliated. When I was 7, he locked me in the garage overnight during winter break. I still remember the frozen silence and the way my fingers shook, not just from cold, but from knowing he was inside, warm, probably laughing. When I was 10, he stole my science project the night before it was due. He turned it in under his name and won first prize. The teacher took our picture for the school website. I wasn't even in it. When I turned 13, he got me a birthday card that said, "Congratulations on being less impressive every year." My mom laughed so hard she cried. That was my life growing up, a shadow under his floodlight. Still, I wanted to believe that when we got older, things would get better. That maturity would sand down his edges. That maybe, just maybe, he'd learn what it meant to be a brother. That delusion finally shattered when our parents died in a car crash 2 years ago. It was sudden, brutal. We were both adults by then, me in my early 20s, him 5 years older, still bouncing between jobs and failed relationships. He cried at the funeral. So did I. But once the dust settled, something became painfully clear. I was now the only one holding any of it together. And he was more than willing to lean on me for everything. He moved in with me. Said he needed time to get back on his feet. I didn't ask for rent. I figured we were both grieving, both lost, both trying to rebuild. I wanted a fresh start. I didn't know I was just resetting the cycle. At first it was small things, him forgetting to buy groceries, using my razor, borrowing money I never saw again. Then it was bigger, parties that left my apartment trashed, job interviews he skipped but lied about, mysterious charges on my card he claimed were accidents. And then came the car. He needed one. I had good credit. He begged, saying it was the only thing holding him back from getting steady work. I co-signed the loan. I paid the majority, 70% up front. He promised he'd handle the registration. That registration never got transferred. He loved that car. Took selfies with it. Called it his baby. Never once acknowledged that I was the reason he had it. I should have pulled the plug then. I didn't. I still had some fantasy in my head of family loyalty, that if I helped enough, sacrificed enough, he'd finally see me as something more than his backup wallet. The only bright spot in my life was Bailey. She was a golden retriever mix I adopted during college, soft ears, honey-colored fur, and eyes that made every horrible day feel like a little less of a nightmare. When I lost everything else, Bailey was still there. She waited by the door when I came home. She curled next to me when I had panic attacks. She never asked for more than food, walks, and love, and gave 10 times more in return. Daniel hated her. She sheds too much, he'd complain. She stinks up the couch. She gets more affection than I do. Once, I came home and found her locked in the bathroom with no water. He claimed it was an accident. I didn't believe him. But what could I do? He lived with me. I couldn't kick him out, not without causing a war. I didn't want to lose the last family I had left. Then, 3 months ago, I collapsed on the floor of our apartment. Turns out, I had appendicitis. A ruptured one. The pain hit like a gunshot. I couldn't even scream, just clawed up my phone and dialed 911 before blacking out. I woke up 2 days later in the hospital, groggy, in pain, and terrified. The first words out of my mouth weren't about pain or meds. They were about Bailey. "Where's my dog?" The nurse smiled gently. "Your brother's taking care of her." That should have been comforting. But instead, it was the moment my gut twisted again, not from the surgery, but from something much worse. I knew, in my bones, something was wrong. The hospital room was quiet, except for the hum of machines and the occasional squeak of sneakers in the hallway. I stared at the ceiling for what felt like hours, trying not to cry. Not from pain, the morphine handled that, but from the gnawing dread in my chest. Bailey was my world. And if she wasn't safe, nothing was. 3 days passed before they discharged me. I signed the papers with shaking hands, still stiff from the IVs and painkillers. Daniel didn't show up to pick me up, said he was busy. So I caught a cab home, grimacing with every bump in the road, clutching the hospital discharge folder like a life raft. As soon as I opened the apartment door, I knew. No excited barks. No jingling collar. No warm fur pressed against my legs. Bailey was gone. Daniel was on the couch, gaming headset on, fingers mashing buttons like his life depended on it. He glanced at me, then back at the screen. "Oh, hey. You're back early. Where's Bailey?" He didn't even pause the game. "Ran off 2 days ago." "What?" He sighed, finally pulling off the headset. Yeah. She slipped out when I went to take the trash. I put up some flyers. My stomach turned. Where? He shrugged. You know, nearby. I walked past him, ignoring the shooting pain in my side, checking every room, every corner, calling her name like she might magically appear. Her leash was gone. So was her crate. So was her bed. Everything. I stormed back into the living room. Where are the flyers? He blinked. I threw him out. Why would you? Because I figured someone would call if they found her. Look, I've had a lot going on, alright? You left me with a dog and rent. I'm doing the best I can. I stared at him, my body still weak, but my blood boiling. Something didn't add up. Bailey didn't slip out. She never even went near the front door without me. And why would he toss out the flyers after 2 days? That's when I remembered the security camera. 6 months ago, I installed a cheap hallway cam after he left the stove on and nearly burned the kitchen down. He mocked me for it at the time. Said I was being paranoid. I grabbed my laptop and opened the camera feed archive. He didn't even try to stop me. But when I found the clip from 2 days into my hospital stay, he went very, very quiet. The video showed Daniel opening the front door for a woman I didn't recognize. Blonde, tall, carrying a tote bag. She knelt down, and Bailey, sweet, trusting Bailey, walked right up to her. She picked her up like a piece of luggage. No crate. No leash. Just took her. I turned the screen toward him. What is this? He leaned back on the couch. I sold her. The words knocked the air out of me. What? I needed money, alright? Rent was due. And it's not like she's irreplaceable. You can always get another dog. I just stood there, stunned. You sold her? He rolled his eyes. Don't be dramatic. You were in the hospital. You didn't even know what day it was. I kept the place together while you were gone. That dog was just a drain on money and time. I wanted to scream. Punch. Collapse. All at once. She wasn't a thing, Daniel. She's family. She's mine. She was yours, he corrected, with that smug half-smile he always wore when he thought he'd won. And you owe me for rent, so, consider it payment. That's when I realized what this really was. Not desperation. Not a mistake. It was control. He knew what she meant to me. And he took her. Cashed her out like a pawnshop stereo. I didn't say another word. Just walked into my room, shut the door, and curled up on the bed that still smelled like Bailey. I cried harder than I did after our parents' funeral. And when I was done crying, I started thinking. Because if he thought he could take from me, again, without consequences, he was about to learn just how wrong he was. The next morning, I woke up with the kind of resolve that only comes after the worst kind of heartbreak. I wasn't the same person who went into the hospital. That person still believed in family. Still hoped for redemption. I was done hoping. The first thing I did was open my drawer and pull out the small, scuffed folder where I kept all my critical documents. Birth certificate. Lease agreement. And the car title. Because here's the thing Daniel never bothered to learn, legally, the car he drove every day still belonged to me. When I co-signed for it a year ago, I put my name first. I paid 70% of the down payment. I paid the first 5 months of insurance while he looked for work. And when the dealership handed over the title, he never filed the registration change. Said he'd get around to it. That folder said otherwise. Daniel might have the keys. But I had the power. I took a picture of the title with my name and signature, then pulled up the DMV website. It took less than 20 minutes to initiate the full ownership transfer back to myself, no notice required, since I was the sole legal name on record. After that, I listed the car online. Clean, barely a year old, low mileage. I priced it to move. And while I waited for the messages to pour in, I got to work tracking down Bailey. I didn't know the woman's name, but I had a screenshot of her face from the camera feed. I posted it in every local dog group, rescue board, and neighborhood watch forum online. Within 2 hours, someone messaged me. Hey, that woman looks like Jenna from Ridgewood. I think she fosters dogs sometimes. I've seen her at the dog park. I clicked through their profile, found Jenna's Instagram, and there she was, same blonde ponytail, same wide grin, holding a golden retriever. My golden retriever. The caption read, newest foster baby. Meet Marley. Isn't she perfect? I messaged her immediately. Hi Jenna, I think you have my dog. Her name is Bailey. I have the vet records and photos to prove it. No reply. 2 hours passed. Then a message came back. I'm sorry, I adopted her through a private rehoming. The man said he was moving and couldn't keep her. Can we meet? I replied. Please. I'll pay whatever you gave him. Jenna hesitated. Then agreed. That night, we met in a neutral parking lot. I showed her the vet paperwork. Dozens of photos. A video of Bailey doing her signature spin every time she saw me with a leash. Jenna watched all of it in silence. Then she said softly, he told me she was a rescue with no history. I paid $800 cash. I had no idea. She went to the back seat of her car, opened the door, and called, Marley? Bailey looked up. Then she saw me. She hesitated for only a moment, then launched herself out of the car and into my arms, tail wagging so hard I thought she'd throw out her spine. I cried into her fur while Jenna watched, eyes glassy. I'm so sorry, she said. I can't believe someone would just sell their own sibling's dog. I handed her the $800 in cash I'd withdrawn earlier from my emergency fund. No, she said, pushing it back. You keep it. But I insisted. It wasn't about money. It was about making it right. She took the envelope reluctantly. Then smiled. Take care of her. She deserves better. I nodded. She wasn't the only one. The next morning, I met a buyer for the car. He test drove it. Loved it. Counted out 60 crisp $100 bills into my hand without blinking. I signed the bill of sale, handed over the keys, and walked away $6,000 richer. Bailey sat in the passenger seat of my rental car, her head on my shoulder, as I drove across town to a small studio apartment I'd signed a lease on that morning. Deposit, first month's rent, basic furniture from a thrift shop. All paid in cash. No forwarding address. I didn't tell Daniel I was leaving. But I left a note on his gaming chair. Bailey's safe. The car's gone. The lease is terminated. Rent's due in 5 days. Good luck. I didn't wait around to see his reaction. By the time Daniel found the note, Bailey and I were already gone. The new apartment wasn't much, barely 400 square feet, with a view of a parking lot and a leaky faucet that groaned like a dying animal, but it was mine. And it was silent. No blaring video games. No passive-aggressive jabs. No being told I was too soft, too dramatic, too weak. Just me and Bailey, curled up on the futon, both finally able to sleep without looking over our shoulders. The next morning, my phone lit up. 3 missed calls. Then 10. Then 37. By noon, I had 72 calls and 12 voicemails, all from Daniel. I didn't listen to a single one. The messages came next. Long, frantic blocks of text accusing me of theft, betrayal, emotional manipulation. He threw out every guilt trip he had in his arsenal. I took care of you after Mom and Dad died. You were supposed to be my sister. You've ruined me. I let them pile up in silence. He even tried to report the car stolen, but with the signed title transfer and proof of sale, the police laughed him out of the station. Legally, the car was never his. Just like Bailey was never his to sell. By day 3, the tone shifted from rage to desperation. He told me he was getting evicted. That he had no money. That the landlord was threatening legal action if he didn't cover the rent. I didn't respond. That was the beauty of it, the lease was under my name, yes, but I had already terminated it the moment I got the car money. Left the paperwork with the landlord myself, handed over keys, and showed proof I no longer lived there. Daniel had no safety net anymore. He had no car. No job. No pet to distract people from who he really was. He was just a man-child in a gutted apartment with nothing left to drain. And for once, I didn't feel guilty. For years, I played the peacekeeper. The fixer. The silent partner to his chaos. The little sister who held everything together while he tore it apart. Every bruise on my childhood came with a, but he's family. Every unpaid debt was brushed off with, he's just going through something. But when I woke up in that hospital bed and realized the first thing on my mind was Bailey, not my own recovery. I knew. He didn't deserve me. He never had. That week, Bailey and I walked to a park near our new place. It was nothing fancy, cracked benches, rusty swing set, but she trotted ahead with a bounce in her step I hadn't seen in months. She paused at the edge of the grass, tail wagging, and looked back at me, waiting. That moment, simple as it was, felt like closure. I wasn't just free of Daniel. I was free of the version of myself who thought I needed to endure abuse to be loyal. And I had Bailey to thank for it. She was more than just a pet. She was the reason I finally chose myself. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to hit that like button, it helps more than you know. Subscribe and stick around for more true stories with twists, turns, and just the right amount of karma.